because people want to duplicate your success. They're always asked this question: how does he find the story? Which you finally have told us.
Yeah, I mean, I try in the kind of forward to the volume to answer this question, because I do get it all the time, and there isn't a neat, pat answer. But as I say in the forward, it's about teaching yourself that everything is interesting, because our natural inclination as humans is, when we're confronted with things, we immediately try to edit. We have to edit, right? And we have to sort of dismiss things and say, I'm not interested in that, and not interested in that. And as a writer, I think you have to, particularly if you have to write as many words as I do, is if you have David Remnick hanging over your head, demanding that you turn in story after story after story, you have to reverse that very common human desire to edit and just to surrender and just to
say everything is interesting. All I have to do is show it. Is
ask questions, is follow up, is if you get trapped next to someone on an airplane and they start talking to you, you have to resist the impulse to say, I don't want to hear it. I have to say, well, actually, maybe there's a chance they'll. And believe me, I've heard things from people in airplanes that have like perked up my ears, and all of us have a kind of blind spot around our own stories. And we don't realize what's interesting about our own lives. And I count myself among them. You know, it takes an outsider to see sometimes what's beautiful or interesting in someone's life. There was a piece I did about mammography and bombing. And it all started because I went to see a radiologist uptown at Columbia Presbyterian. And, or Beth, I've forgotten, one of the big hospitals. Really interesting chap. He's chatting to me.
East side or west side, and I'll tell you which.
It's east side. He's at Sloan Kettering. Sloan Kettering. And he's talking about reading a mammogram. And it happened to be that very moment when, right before the Gulf War, when Colin Powell was on the Hill and at the UN with those pictures, those spy satellite photographs of what Saddam's weapons of mass destruction.
Supposedly how they were moving the things around.
Exactly. And he said this thing. He's just talking away about reading a mammogram, and he mentions that, and he says, you know, I have such enormous sympathy and respect for what they do over there because we're in the same business. And I just thought, it's really fascinating. I hadn't thought about it that way, but they are, of course. They're both people who, and that's what the piece is all about. It's all about what it means to look at a picture. They're people who have to, who are given pictures, have to make sense of them. And everyone on the outside thinks that once you have a picture, the answer is obvious, right? And both of them struggle with trying to communicate to the public that no. The picture is the source of more illusion and heartbreak and ambiguity than you can imagine, right? And it was just at that, and that's why how the piece evolved. It was this. It tells two stories: a story about the struggle of people in the intelligence world to make sense of the photographs they take of whatever, bombing sites, what have you, and the struggle of mammographers to make sense of these pictures they take of women's breasts, which are invitations to ambiguity. They raise as many questions as they answer, and there's something. And also, in both cases, there's something heroic in the struggle of these experts to bring some order to this kind of to the mystery that the questions that the photographs expose.